Hi guys. Hello. Happy Thursday. All right, so we have a lot to do today. We have to assemble our bottle cap flowers from yesterday, and then we also are going to start our cork board. We're probably not going to finish it today because we do have to let a little bit of paint dry overnight, but we'll finish it and assembling it tomorrow. And then we'll finish it before our project tomorrow, which shouldn't be too bad. All right. So first, all you need is your bottle caps that dried overnight that you painted. Okay. So you need those, and you need one of your barbecue skewers and your hot glue plugged in and ready to go. You're probably going to need a stick of glue, if not two. You'll definitely need a lot of glue tomorrow when we assemble our cork board together. All right. So while we get our hot glue heated up, you will need, for the cork board today, enough wine corks to fill whatever container you're using. I'm using one of those plastic like takeout containers that they give you with the clear plastic lid. This is a relatively small one. I'm just gonna make a pretty small cork board. But you need a decent amount of wine corks to fill up the container that you use. So if you're using a bigger container, you're probably gonna need more than this. But that should be good to go. All right, once your hot glue is completely heated up, we'll assemble this. I'm going to kind of set them aside in case you plugged in the hot glue late. I'm going to kind of set this aside that we'll assemble it in a couple minutes. But right now, all I want you to do is get your container and your wine corks, and you are just going to place them in one by one to kind of see and make sure that you have enough corks. So you're just going to go around and place them right side up like this to make sure that you have enough. Your best bet is to look closely at the wine cork, and you want to put the bigger end towards the top. So you can kind of see it. This one's not the best example. You can kind of see that this end is a little bit thinner than this one. This one kind of widens up a little bit. That's the end that I want to go towards the top. I want the wider end towards the top because it covers more space. So you're just going to take it and you're going to set them in. And you just want to make sure ahead of time that you have enough wine corks to fill the container. So you're just going to go through and fill the container as much as you can. If it has wine juice, like the color, if you like that color, that's great. But we will use our acrylic paints to paint over them to kind of hide that look if you don't like it. So we are just going to go through, and it's easier to hold it if you have it laying flat. So I'm going to lay mine flat so you guys can kind of see. But you're just going to go through and just put them all in right side up to make sure that you have enough going forward. And then we'll do that next step. So we're just going to set them all in. Make sure it's all good to go. It's easiest if you go around a circle, especially if you're using a circular container. If you're using a square, you can kind of just do whatever. But the circular ones, it's easier to go around kind of in layers. So go around the edge, circle first, and then come on back. So we're just going to go around. Make sure they're all good to go. If you have holes in the cork, and that's on the bigger end, you can turn it, and that's not a big deal. You don't want these giant holes in the cork from where you use the opener. So just try to hide those as much as possible because it'll kind of look like there's just giant gaps in your cork board. Little ones are fine. It's not too big of a deal. But if you just like have really big ones, like this one, it's kind of obvious, then you might not want to use that one. Just turn it upside down. Go through, measure it all out. And the nice thing about this is, so if you go through and you see you don't have enough corks to fill it up, you can always just kind of pause the video and come back to it later. The nice thing about having these kind of recorded to play back for you is that you can go back and play it later if you need more supplies. So you guys really want to make sure that these wine corks are in there as tight as possible. So you don't want them to kind of just like be moving around. If you find that they're moving around or moving back and forth, just try to fit another cork in there to keep them from moving or sliding around. We are going to attach them in there, but it just means that there's kind of gaps in what will be the cork board, and we don't want the gaps. We want as much filled up as possible. Okay, so keep on going. So this is pretty tightly bound in there. As you can see, I used a ton of corks. They're pretty tightly bound in there. I could probably fit one more if I really wanted to. Actually, I probably can. All right, so I really have them tightly packed in there. And you can kind of see too that the bigger ends, if the bigger ends are on the top, they move around a little bit less. It's filling up more space towards the top. I think some I didn't quite use the bigger ends, so let me turn them around. All right, so really what you want to do is like, if you can hold it up and see that any of them are kind of jerking back and forth or moving, it's like this one is like really easily moving, but everything else, you guys can kind of see that that one's moving. I could probably get another cork in there, or just use a different cork if that one's like on the thinner side. I think I can put one more in here. Okay. All right, and your test is just to kind of hold it up, and you can see right now none of them are really moving. They're kind of stuck in there. We are going to attach them so that they don't fall out, especially when we're putting push pins in there. But I should be able to hold it up like this and not have anything really fall out or move. And then I'll know that I have enough corks. So I used a decent amount, as you guys can see. There's really not that much. Now I see that I do have like some slight gaps. You could probably get another cork in there. You have a thinner one. But you want to just try to get, there you go, as much in there as you can. And that looks pretty good. Okay. So it should look something like this. None of them should move around. Okay. Once you have all your corks in place, just set that aside for now. We'll come back to that in a second. We are going to, let's see if this is hot yet. Yeah, this is pretty good. All right. So we're going to set that aside. Sorry, we're going back and forth a little bit here today. If you need more time with the corks, it's not a big deal. Just kind of set that aside for now, because we're only going to do step 1 and step 2 today, and we're going to come back and finish this tomorrow. So if you need more time after the video is over, feel free to take your time. You're not going to, if you don't have these all completely in there just yet, you're going to have more time to work on this, and you're not going to fall super behind, so don't feel overwhelmed. So once you have all those in there, just set that aside for now. We're going to do this bottle cap flower real quick. So what we're going to do, you're going to set them in, there we go. Set them in the middle one in the center, and 6 similar color on the outside. Okay. We are going to attach them all to the center of the flower, but also to the two on the side of it. So you're just going to put 1, 2, 3 dots of glue, and you're going to attach it to the center one, and then attach each piece next to it. Okay, and you'll see that that holds pretty well. What you're going to do next is you're going to try to put a little bit of glue in between the center one and those two that you just attached to it to make sure that they hold nicely. And you're just going to kind of press it into the table while pressing them in towards each other so that the glue dries and stays. You just want to make sure you have enough glue to hold it. Hold them all with each other. The trick that I showed yesterday was putting it on, what did I do with it? A piece of fabric. No idea what I did with that piece of fabric. Because it doesn't slide around as much. So if you have an old piece of fabric from your jeans or the t-shirts that we were working on, it helps to put it on a piece of fabric because it won't slide around on the table. Okay, and you're just going to keep on attaching them all together so that they are good to go. Press them together for, 10 to 15 seconds until the glue is able to fully dry. And it doesn't hurt to put a little glue in between those triangles that form between all the bottle caps. You will notice that you're going to get a lot of hot glue. I call them hairs. They look like hairs. Strings. That's okay. Just pull them off. Press them all together as you go. Do one cap at a time. And then you're just going to put a little here and a little on the side to attach it. Little on the bottom, little on the side. Press it in again. And like I said, it doesn't hurt to put a little bit of glue in between this triangle to kind of give it that extra hold. Okay. The first and the last one are the hardest, just because you have to kind of estimate where to put the glue. And you also have to work quickly so that the glue doesn't dry on you. Okay, so you're just going to put a little on each side and a little on the bottom and attach it to the flower. So ultimately what you're ending up with is the 6 on the outside. And you just want to kind of hold it together, watching your fingers, knowing that the glue is hot. Hold it together until the glue is fully dried. And then you can start to pull off those like little hairs or the strings from the hot glue. Okay. All right. So you should have something that looks like this. Pretty well hold together. It will hold really well if you put glue in between each of these triangles to attach it. You guys can see that I have a decent amount in there. But it'll hold nicely if you have glue in there just to kind of give it that extra hold. Okay. Once you all have that all ready, good to go, you're going to take your skewer, and what you're going to do is you are going to go towards You're going to line it up so that there's 2 towards the top and 2 towards the bottom. And you're going to put the skewer against those middle pieces there. You can kind of see how it's lined up there. So this skewer is going to go right between the 2 on the top and 2 on the bottom, kind of lay like that. Okay. And you are just going to put a line of hot glue here, a line of hot glue here on the top here and the bottom, and you're just going to attach your skewer. And you're going to hold until that dries. Press it against the table. And then to give it a little bit of extra hold, you're going to take your hot glue and just run over the back of the skewer and put enough so it kind of drapes over. So if I hold this up, you'll see I have a ton of glue on the back there. Okay. And then you're just going to each end of the skewer, take it and hold it down. And I would honestly, if you wanted to dry faster, just blow on the glue until it dries. Don't move the skewer until it's completely dry. Sorry, I'm not doing this on the screen here. It helps to have like a little tiny bit of the end sticking out so that you don't burn your fingers with glue. You can also take like your paintbrush or something to kind of press it down like this. But you just want to make sure that you're holding that there until the glue is completely dry on the back. That's going to be your hold with that. Okay. Okay, it's getting there. Since there's a lot of glue on the back, it's going to take a little bit to dry. Just gently press it, make sure that it's staying there until the glue is dry. We don't want to take it off too early. And you'll start to see the glue kind of changing color. You'll know it's dry if to the touch you can, I mean, don't stick your fingers in it, but if you start to see that it's like a darker color than when you put it on, it's probably close to being dry. You can also kind of like stick your paintbrush into it, and if it's still sticky, then it still needs to be held down. Okay. And once that's completely dry, which mine is not, you'll be good to go stick it in your garden. Okay, so you should be able to completely hold it up like this without it falling apart. If it does fall apart, it just means that you need a little bit more glue on the back to hold it. You can kind of see now how much glue I actually put there now that it's dry to hold it. So you can see that it's pretty well held on there. There's a decent amount of glue on there to really hold it. Okay, and then that's it. You can kind of stick it in your garden as soon as it's finished. Makes a nice little garden marker or some garden decor. Or if you have like a little plant inside the house, like a little potted plant, you can stick that in the soil. The skewer helps it kind of stand up nicely. So, okay, so that's the bottle cap flower from yesterday. You have enough skewers to make yourself 4 or 5. So if you have enough bottle caps, you can certainly go forth and make a bunch of them. But that's how you do that. All right, what you're going to need next, we're going to kind of get started on our cork board as well. You won't need the hot glue gun anymore. We are going to fully assemble this tomorrow. The hot glue gun, if you want to unplug it, you can unplug it. You won't need it anymore today after you're finished with the bottle cap flower. Okay, so what you're going to do now is you're just going to grab your acrylic paints and your paintbrush. And you're going to decide what colors you are kind of going with here. So if this is, again, to match a room in the house, if it's to go with whatever your office looks like, you're going to pick those colors to use. This is essentially to hide any of the dark colors from some of the corks have like a darker reddish tint to it from red wine. So we're going to use the paint to kind of cover that up if you're not into that color, but also to kind of add like a little bit of an accent to match any decor that goes with the room that you're putting this in. So I'm going to go with, I don't even really know if this office has like a color scheme. I think I'll do pinks and yellow. Okay, so you're not going to paint all of them unless you want to. But if you like a little bit of the cork look to stick out, then you don't have to paint them all. But essentially what we're going to do is we are just going to give ourselves some accent colors, but also cover up some of the darker colors on the cork, especially if they don't match the room that you're putting them in. So you're going to get your paintbrush, and each of the corks that you want to paint, you're just going to take them out slowly. Or you can actually just leave them in there if you want to and paint them right on there. I'm going to leave them in just to kind of keep them all in the spots that I want them to be. But if it doesn't matter, if you just want to paint a couple of them, you can honestly paint the ones on the outside and then rearrange them when you go to assemble it. But I'm just going to leave them in here and just paint very carefully. And I'm just going to paint the top of the cork. Just like that. And I'm not going to paint them all because I do want some of the cork color to kind of shine through. So I'm just going to pick a couple that I'm going to paint yellow. If you're leaving the corks in the bin or the container or whatever, I would use your smallest paintbrush to paint, just to make sure you're not getting it on the other corks surrounding it. If you're taking them out, you don't need to worry about that. You can use whichever paintbrush you want. Okay, so I'm just going to pick some to paint yellow. And then I'll go back and pick some to paint pink. Maybe I'll even pick a third color. I do kind of like the color of the dark red of some of the corks, so I might leave those open or unpainted, I guess. And again, for some of the lighter colors of paint, you might have to go back and add a second layer. Again, we're not assembling this today. We're just kind of getting the paint on, so you'll have a full 24 hours for it to dry before we go to assemble it. Some of the other ones you might want to cover up are ones that have like a design on it if you don't like the design. So like mine currently has like triangles on the end of it, or like, I don't know what that is. But I'm going to cover that up with paint. Doesn't really match. Okay. Just going to go through. So right now I have 1, 2, 3, 7 yellows. I'll probably do 8 of each color. And it's just like random. I'm just picking random ones. No rhyme or reason to it. I'll probably go back and add another layer of the yellow because the yellow is a little bit thinner, especially on the red background ones. All right, and then I'm gonna just pick another color. I'm gonna actually do this blue color. I'm gonna pick another color and I'm just gonna go and do the same thing that I just did. Add a little bit of accent color to the board. A lot of you got like shades of your favorite color. So that also kind of helps with your accent colors. It kind of just, gives you different shades of one color to add to the corkboard, and that'll look really cool as well. You guys can see it's starting to come together. I'll probably do 3 colors. If you want to paint them all, you can paint them all. If you want to paint just the one in the center, you can just paint the one in the center. This is completely up to you. If you don't want to paint them at all, you don't have to paint them. This is totally up to you. This is your corkboard. This is the corkboard you're going to be hanging up and using. So you want it to look the way you want it. If you want to, you could also paint the container itself. I'm going to leave the black just because I like the plain black look. But if you have like a old Christmas container, Christmas cookie container, and you want to cover that up, you can certainly cover that up with acrylic paint or your scrapbook paper. You can also like hot glue strips of your scrapbook paper on the outside as well. And I'm probably going to do 8 of each color. That seems to be pretty safe. And then it'll leave me with a little bit of the cork color at the end. And like I said, I would leave this about 24 hours to dry. I would check it in about an hour to see and just double check if anything needs a second layer of paint. Some colors you might not need a second layer of paint, but I know definitely my yellow is going to need it. If you're using like a white or a light yellow, that might need a second coat. Okay. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right, so that's 8 of that color, and I'm just gonna pick one more. I do some pink. And I actually kind of have 4 colors on here because I'm gonna leave some of the dark red. And this pink is kind of thin, so probably to put a second layer. And since you are leaving it for 24 hours to dry, you can really just kind of glop paint on there if you want to. I'm putting it on pretty heavy right now. So since it's gonna have plenty of time to dry in between, it's not too big a deal if you do that. Okay. And you'll notice some of the corks, they have, I guess, like grooves in them where the paint kind of just disappears. You can kind of lay it on thick there, just to make sure that you have enough paint to cover that one up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I need one more. And there really is no rhyme or reason for the ones I chose. It actually looks pretty cool, kind of just sporadic like this with no pattern. But if you have a pattern you want to do, you can do a pattern. You can paint them all one color. You don't have to paint them at all. This is all completely up to you. All right. So once you have that all painted and ready to go, you'll see that I'm leaving some of the cork by itself. You're just going to leave this for 24 hours to dry. If you were pulling the corks out and painting them, not a big deal. I would just leave them standing up like this so that they can dry. Like I wouldn't turn them on their side or anything like that. But that's it for today. You're going to leave this dry for 24 hours. We're going to finish this tomorrow. And then you're also going to gather your paper towel and toilet paper rolls because we are going to be making a wreath out of them tomorrow. So we'll have that as well. We're definitely going to be using a lot of hot glue tomorrow. So definitely have that plugged in and ready to go for tomorrow. And I will see you all back tomorrow at 4 o'clock. If you want, you can send pictures to rusticraftsandcalligraphy@gmail.com of your flower creations that you guys made and assembled today. And then I look forward to seeing all the pictures that you guys make with the cork boards. All right, I will be back tomorrow at 4. See you all then. Bye, guys.